You can't hear me.
Now you can.
Now you can hear me?
Yep.
Welcome back, adventurers. My name is Eli, the Game Master, and this is A Good Day to Die. Last we left off, our group bar hopped at Drimport. They got to Drimport and they went bar hopping. That was the episode. That was it. I hope you watched it. It's great. So, they did return Wormy back to the Temple of Desna, though they were never asked to. It was the decision that the group had made for Wormy's best interest. It was for his own good that he go back home.
And we're not going to regret that in 7 sessions at all.
No, not at all. I just, made him just so you can give him away. But the group did decide to split the party. Half of the group going to the Island of Power, the other half going to the Island of Knowledge. The group going to the Island of Power are going to go seek High Mayor Hawthorne. However, they were turned away by the receptionist, but they met somebody, presumably one of Mayor Hawthorne's sons, named Melchior. The other group are heading to the library to do a little bit of studying, and we'll go ahead and pick it up there. So, I would like the group, we're doing a new initiative roll to see who goes first. Group of Power or Group of Knowledge? Go ahead, and I would like a representative from each to roll for initiative.
Oh, we're good. Okay. Then either of us will roll for our group.
I mean,
Go ahead.
I'm also no.
I will roll for our group.
You roll better than I do.
Yes.
It's a known fact.
Are we adding initiative bonuses?
Yes!
Ha.
I don't think they can physically beat us. I'm not gonna lie.
Unless you rolled a nat 20.
Did you roll that 20?
Yeah.
No.
Oh. Did you roll 1?
No.
2? 3?
We
can
go
do this
all
all
the way
the time.
There's exactly 20 numbers.
Aren't you always in the single digits in initiative?
So imagine my confusion when Amos looked at me and said, "Hey, you should roll. You roll better."
Why are you listening to Amos?
I don't know.
He doesn't even know what you roll in initiative.
Great.
What'd you roll?
They go first. Don't even worry about it. They go first.
What did you get? Out of curiosity.
No, an 11.
Oh yeah, that's right. You have a negative one.
Wow, we would have still gone with my 4.
Just.
Also,
Yeah.
we would like to welcome back Derek! He's been absent for a couple of sessions, but now he's here. And Pan.
Yeah, do that thing. Just the Sam Reich thing.
I work in the sun.
Here.
Praise the sun.
No.
You can sponsor us, drop out, that's fine.
From the guns.
Oh no! Melchior had recited to you a poem about a foxkin. And then he turned to you and with a bow and a flourish said, "My name is Melchior Hawthorne, at your service." He takes his cane, he puts it on the pommel of your sword, Manzarek, and he says, "Please, darling, I've seen swords much larger than yours, and you don't threaten me." He twirls the cane and puts it down. He says, "I couldn't help but hear your plight, and I wanted to offer my services to you."
Why?
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 Why? He says, "Because I happen to know your father."
Really?
Of course! He says, "My father's been doing business with Ambrose for a very long time, and your father is no stranger to our shores, and so it falls upon me and my charitable heart to help you. I can take you into this meeting so that you can meet my father."
We'll pass.
That sounds great.
I agree with the kid.
No.
Why not?
Why? Other than no, why?
Just trust me.
Oh, he says, "Your very tall, handsome, and strong companion here seems to be a little, wary of me, a little suspicious." He says,
I put my hand on his shoulder and just squeeze it enough that he knows I'm there and be like, "There is no suspicion, only that I know you can't be trusted."
"Oh, and why is that?"
Because I don't even think your father knows you're out here.
He smirks. He says, "Unfortunately, your friend is correct. My father doesn't know that I'm out here. But that doesn't change the fact that I can get you into that meeting. And even more than that, I can set up a private meeting for you and my father as well."
I'd do a local or to know him.
That'd be knowledge nobility.
Would a 10 work?
Taking a 10?
That's all I can get.
I have ranks.
I hope so.
11.
Oh, yeah.
So with an 11, you do know there's probably 24 children that High Lord Mayor Hawthorne has sired. And so for him to announce himself as Melchior Hawthorne, like, yeah, probably. He is a half-elf, you can tell, but like, you're not entirely certain past that.
Okay.
He says, but this is your decision. I'm not going to force you into anything.
And who are you to your father? Obviously, your son, but
He says,
what services do you provide?
with full clarity, he says, I want to be nothing but trustworthy to you. I'm going to tell you the full honest truth. I, to my father, am one of the black sheep of the family. Not the only one, but one of, he says. And as he gesticulates, you see this poor little squid, like, swirling around in the head of his cane. Yeah. He says, but I, however, am on the circulation to meet my father. I have set up a meeting that he will be privy to within the upcoming week, but if you don't want to be part of that, you don't have to be.
I think this might be the best opportunity.
I do too. He says with a smile, and when he smiles, something you didn't notice before, every single one of his teeth have been capped with platinum pieces. And when he grins, you can see your own reflection in them.
And what's in it for you?
For me, he says, I do have a small request, but that is semantics. He says, I can take you into this meeting as of now, free of charge, and then we can discuss what's in it for me afterwards. A quid pro quo if you find a meeting with him to be of use to you. However, if you step into this meeting and see my father dealing in his boring governmental issues and find no use for him, and he says that'll be on you and you owe me not a thing. I just know what it's like to have a father that's so absent from your life.
And you said you've had this meeting set up for some time?
Oh yes, of course. See, my father circulates for his children, going from each one to spend a certain evening or day with them, whatever, depending on their importance. And he says, and it's been years since he's seen me. I'd be surprised if he knew my name, much less my birthday. He says, but this is in the papers, it's in the books, and unless something tragic happens, you know, then he will attend a meeting that I am personally setting up for him.
What could go wrong?
You set it up for him?
Of course. He says it's my father. He says he hasn't come around in a very long time, and I want to make the most out of it.
But you said he goes around and sees. He goes around and sees his children.
Yes.
How are you the one that can make a meeting if he's the one that's doing it?
Because I'm on the schedule, darling.
But did he make the schedule?
Of course he did.
But you just said you made it.
I am setting up the meeting. He has made the schedule.
I'm gonna roll a sense motive.
You may do that.
So much better than last roll.
24.
24, you said?
Well,
Yes. Jeez.
see what
Huh?
perspective? See what?
24, you say? He is telling the honest God truth. It seems like he's very earnest in helping you because he finds a kinship with you. And when he says he knows your father, like, yeah, he has seen your father, he knows your father. You, on the other hand, have never been to Germport. He's never met you before. But when you introduced yourself to the receptionist, he overheard it.
Okay.
He takes the bottle and he takes a deep drink while you're kind of like mulling this
The
over.
only thing I can tell you is I'm accustomed to quid pro quo is always being in the other person's favor.
Sounds to me. He like pushes the bottle into your chest. Do you take it?
No, I'll let it drop.
It just busts. You see people like stop and look. He goes, it seems to me that you need better friends, darling. He kind of, the girl that was standing next to him, she kind of like looks around and she reaches into her bag. She pulls out another bottle of wine with the same Kraken logo and walks over to him. He takes it.
When is this meeting?
The meeting with my father is within the week. He says a couple days' time.
Do you think this is the best way to go about it? I'm not sure how meetings are set up. It's not my forte.
Why were you here?
He sets,
Now.
he sets the bottle down, and he says, "That, darling, is my own little private business. I hear that there's some juicy gossip going around amongst the bigwigs of the governmental sector, and I was interested to know what was happening. So introducing your friend here to my father will serve both of our benefits. I will be able to slate my curiosity, and he'll be able to meet him."
Don't look at me. I'm a fraud.
Oh, that's racist. You're Ripley. Don't let anyone talk down to you.
They kind of have to. He's shorter.
Nonsense, he says. That sounds like talk from somebody that he gets way into your personal space as he presses himself against you. How tall are you?
6'7".
6'7". He's only a couple inches shorter than you. He's very tall. As he kind of presses himself into you, right? And he says, coming from someone so stoic.
Thanks. And I step back.
He is still leaning, but against nothing.
So,
My God.
personally speaking, I would not suggest it.
At
But
this
that
point,
is
I don't
your
see another
choice.
way. So, how should we know when the meeting is?
What's going on now, darling? That's why you're not able to get a meeting with a new stepmom.
No, when is? How will we know when it's our time to meet?
Oh, our time to meet him. He says, in a couple of days. He says, I need a little preparation time. Once everything is set up, I will send in for the request, and then he will come straight forward. But you do have my promise that it will only take a couple of days. But if you'd like to see him for yourself, darling, that could take days, months, weeks, years, who knows?
And you'll send for us?
Send for you, darling. I would invite you. I happen to own the most prestigious theater in all of Drimport, the Nightingale. Maybe you've heard of it? I'm sure you have. He says, and you can stay there free of charge. Enjoy the entertainment and the music. He says, by the way, have I introduced you to Violet? The girl standing off to the side gives a gentle kind of bow. He says, she has the most riveting voice in all of Drimport. A voice like an angel, no pun intended.
What was your name? Violet.
Violet. She is an Asmar.
I look over.
okay.
I look past him. I'm like, is that true?
She says, well, he says, of course it's true, he interrupts her. He says, a voice that can reach to the heavens and shake the very celestial stars in the skies, or even dredge up what little good there is in the infernos, and bring them to Drimport itself. He says, give them a heavenly sound below and give them hell up above.
So glad she answered. I looked at you to be like, this guy's obviously cracked out of his mind.
Does he
The
have a
Nightingale.
face like that?
He just, it's almost like a twitch.
Okay.
Okay, we can stay at the Nightingale. That'll be fun.
Excellent, excellent. He goes, so, he takes his cane and he gently in Pinocchio when the fox takes his cane and he moves Pinocchio off of the street, he kind of does that with you. And he says, now, darling, and he goes, come, he takes the bottle and hands it to you and let's go.
I don't.
So he's trying to
I'm assuming the bottle is half my size.
Well, it's a regular bottle, but
Yeah.
to you it'd be
Yeah, no. Not even making an attempt.
you're stronger than the average person.
Yeah.
It's not gonna,
But
It's right up his
it's
head there.
like a 9-10 inch bottle.
uh-huh.
Yeah, it's literally twice my size.
Violet, as he turns with you and begins to walk towards the receptionist, Violet, timidly walks up and begins cleaning.
I
the
also
floor.
begin cleaning with her.
And he says, I might be able to sneak one of you gentlemen in with us, if you would like. I know you're a little suspicious of me, so if you'd like to babysit your friend here, you're more than welcome to.
So wait a minute.
Hmm?
You're telling me the only person that can go and stay there would be him?
No.
You're
The
inviting.
meeting that we're going to now, darling. My father's in a meeting. We're going to go check it out. So that I can get the gossip and you can meet my father.
be fun if I go with him.
Okay, I don't feel like I'm getting through to you. So, Mayor Hawthorne's in a meeting.
Yes, we got
He
that.
wants to go to this meeting to get the gossip and so that he can see Hawthorne. Then you will go to the Nightingale and stay with them until...
And then a meeting later on.
Correct.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. The whole meeting now, a meeting later on. That was a disconnect.
Correct.
That was not.
Yeah, I see that as you keep asking
It was-
questions and talking in circles.
It was doing this,
Uh-huh.
and they were not lining up.
I know.
I know. I hate myself.
I'll cling with Violet. Go ahead.
All right.
Darling, you're so clumsy. He says to Violet, come, let us go.
I just make small talk with her. But
Small talk.
Yeah.
it's the only kind of talk I know.
Riveting.
So,
I'm gonna kill myself.
Golly.
now.
He's gonna go.
so as you begin to head over to the reception table with him, you begin to talk to Violet, right? What kind of questions would you ask her?
I asked about herself,
Mhm.
like who she is, and if she actually has this beautiful singing voice. I would ask her. I would ask her about Melchior and if he's like somebody that's actually trustworthy, or if he just like prances around like an idiot. And that'd be kind of the general conversation.
I got you. So, as you three head out, you begin talking with Violet and a couple of things that you learn from her. She does have this air of like only speaks when spoken to. And you feel like that might be because she's in the service of Melchior, but the more you talk to her, the more you realize that that's not the case. She was an orphan, and because of her Azamar bloodline, in the orphanage, she was looked down upon with jealousy by the other orphans, and looked upon with a sense of awe about anybody that was superstitious, thinking that her beauty was otherworldly, or that a lock of her hair could like lift curses or things like that. So her entire life, she had been propped up on a pedestal into something that she didn't really want. Melchior, she says, saw her for who she really is. She loves to sing, and he doesn't put her up on this pedestal. He doesn't treat her like some kind of phenomenal something. He treats her like an actual person, even though, that's what she says, even though you've seen him be like kind of like stepping in front of her and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And if you bring that up to her, she'll laugh and she'll say, he does that too.
So
Do
he's equally all.
Do I get an air of like abuse?
Roll me since mine.
Let's assume it's plus one.
Nat 20?
No!
Let's go.
You're welcome.
You do get an air of abuse, but you feel like it was very like early developed. Like she has learned to stay back and walk on eggshells from her childhood. When she talks about Hawthorne, it feels like Melchior has plucked her from a bad spot and put her into an area that she can truly thrive in.
Okay, so I don't think he's
No.
her. Okay.
And like everything she says is like, she even will talk about him like he is a peacock and he is all talk. He is harmless. He does have magics, she says, but she says she's only ever seen him use them for entertainment. Sometimes to manipulate, but only to get something that he wants, never to like hurt a person.
I asked her about the job, the quid pro quo, if you will.
Mhm.
What he is offering, if she knows anything about that.
She says, actually, no. We actually came in here to get some of the gossip that's going around, but as far as like what he wants from you, I have no idea. It's not something that he's really spoken to me about. He says, but it may have something to do with the play. She realizes that she probably shouldn't have said that, and she like gently covers her mouth. And she continues cleaning.
I know nothing about the theater. I only know what is in the swamp. So don't ask her about the play, because I don't know what that is.
Okay. She will just continue to clean.
And I continue to clean as well.
Melchior walks up to the reception desk. He says, "Gentlemen, just give me a moment." He walks over to the receptionist and he says, "Hello, darling." As he leans on the counter, she looks up and she says, "Melchior, I told you we can't be seen together." And he goes, I know, and I'm not going to bother you very long, but I do need permission to head up into the upper quarters so that I can meet my father. It's very important. She says, "This is a very important meeting. Your father said no one is allowed in there." "Yes, darling, I know, but if you will kindly..." He begins to chant in tone. He casts a spell, and you see her eyes kind of flutter. And he goes, "You can't tell me that I'm not on the beach didn't mean anything to you, darling." She pulls out a key, and she slides it across the counter. She says, "If you get caught, this isn't on me. You stole it." And he goes, "But of course, darling." He takes the key. And he says, "And I'll remember this for last time." He winks at her and he turns and walks off. He says, "Candy from a baby, gentlemen, please follow me." As he begins to walk through the crowd and begins to head up the stairs. As he makes his way up these winding stairs, they lead up to a balcony where you see that there are fewer and fewer people. The people at the top of these stairs are mostly guards, with some kind of people that look like they belong on some kind of council. In the robes with the very Aristotle kind of look about them, the aristocratic kind of air about them. As he walks through like he owns the place. Now, keep in mind, he is bare-chested with these huge boots and these lavish kind of outlandish clothing. He looks completely out of place here. But he is walking through as if he owns the place. Just kind of gently nudging people to the side with his cane. So he's like, "Excuse me, darling," as he makes his way down this hallway. He goes up to the third level, you two following behind, until he gets to this door up on a balcony that's being guarded by a half-orc. This half-orc standing there with a halberd in full plate armor. As he steps up to the half-orc and he says, "Excuse me, darling, we have permission to be in this meeting." He says, "I was told not to let anyone hear, especially you, Melchior." He says, "Especially me?" And he says, "That's so cutting. I can't help but think that was something that you said personally." And he says, "I don't really think my father told you that." He says, "Well, he did." And he goes, "Oh, come now, darling." And he says, "You can't tell me that our night on the beach didn't mean anything to you." He goes, he stops and he squints his eyes at him and he goes, "Oh, are you too ashamed to tell the other gods?" He goes, he says, "Listen, I might be able to let you in, but not your friends." As he turns his attention to you two, when he says that, Melchior chants in tones. He turns back to Melchior and he says, "I promise, darling, they'll be invisible." He says, "My father won't even know. We'll stay up on the balcony here, looking down upon the meeting, not uttering a word. And if we're addressed and told to leave, then simply leave. I'll tell them that you had nothing to do with it, darling." "Fine, but if you get caught, it's on you," he says as he opens the door for you two. He turns and looks at you, "Candy," as he walks inside. Candy. Candy. Stepping into this area, there is a balcony that looks down on a meeting. And there, larger than life, you see High Lord Mayor Hawthorne sitting at the head of this table. He is flanked to either side by a halfling. This halfling has gray hair that is slicked back with two gray mutton chops to either side that just are out of control. It's like something so small shouldn't have facial hair so big. His hands are resting on the table and you see a large golden ring on one of his fingers. The woman that flanks to his other side is another half-elf. This half-elf is lean with that same pitch black hair that you saw on Melchior that you also see on High Lord Mayor Hawthorne, who I will describe in just a moment. Her hair is tucked back in a very neat braid that rolls down over one of her shoulders, and she is wearing that same kind of aristocratic outfit. She is surprisingly young looking, and you don't know if that's just because she's a half elf or if she just is young for who she is. Filing into this room after some time, like you see them coming in and getting ready for this meeting. The group, and I'm going to cut like the short, I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail about what they look like. I'm just going to give you the short and sweet of like these people, unless you have any specific questions. One of them is a half-orc in full plate armor. She has a broken fang on one side and a scar across her eye. You do see a... Nope, not that person. They're not hair. You do see another half-elf. This one has that same black hair tied in a ponytail with a blonde streak that goes down one side of his hairline. He's wearing armor that suggests that he's like a naval captain. And to his side, you see a human who has one side of her head completely shaved. The rest of her hair is cut short. On that side, she wears an eye patch. Her lip is torn and has healed to reveal just like her canine tooth, just like a hint of her teeth. That eye patch covering up the scarring that goes up through there, and the scarring entering into her hairline. And you see up from her neck and curling behind her ear is a blue tattoo of a tentacle. So you feel like this tentacle leads down into another tattoo that you can't see, with only that peeking up. She, however, has a much different air than everyone else in that same kind of nautical clothing, but in a very casual way. She has her boots kicked up on the table, unlike everyone else who is sitting there respectfully. She doesn't seem like she wants to be there, and she seems bored. You see a old dwarf. His head is bald. He has gray hair that drops down in a mane over his shoulders, and a gray beard that looks like if he sits down in like a dwarven-sized chair, it would touch the ground. A very big beard. You see a human who has kind of like disheveled gray hair, a white beard, but it's patchy. And if you look close enough, it looks like it was burned off in spots. He has spectacles that rest on the end of his nose, and he is missing 2 fingers on his right hand. And something that you see that kind of surprises you is a serpent folk. She has black scales with piercing green eyes. And give me a knowledge nature if you have that thing.
And
Nuts. You've never heard of a serpent folk. You've never heard of a serpent folk. She is wearing robes that suggest that she is a spellcaster. Her robes mirror her scales and eyes, but inversed, where like her scales are primarily black with small green, her robes are primarily green with a black line.
I forgot I put up one. Less than 10.
I imagine you walk in and you're kind of like looking over everybody and you're like, whoa! No, sorry. I don't know what that is.
Mine's got the better one. Wait, that's a... Never mind.
But looking at High Lord Mayor Hawthorne, you discover that Melchior got his fine taste in clothing from his father. Hawthorne is... Most everybody here is dressed in a style that suggests that they could easily do something physical as well as something like logistical. Like, if they needed to get up and move, they could. They're wearing attire that suggests, like, they're ready and prepared to do what they are paid to do. He, on the other hand, looks like he is just ready to sit back and let everyone else do their work for him. He's wearing lavish robes that are in the colors of Drimport. With his hair pulled back very much like Melchior's in that same style, where it's just a thick mane of black hair that drops down well past his shoulders. He, of course, has a smooth face, angular features that betray his age, making him look much younger than he really is. But you see the length of his ears as they come out to either side suggests that he is much older, even as an elf, than you would guess. They all come into this meeting and they begin to kind of murmur and discuss to one another. As Melchior steps up, he stands at this rail. This rail is just a balcony overlooking all of this. There are no stairs down. It looks like there's a few seats up here, as if this place had an overflow. This would be part of it. Or if there was an important meeting and somebody wasn't presiding, this is where they would sit to overlook the meeting. So the fact that he knew it was here and the fact that he got here is kind of impressive. But he stands by the door, not even looking over at the meeting, as he just... You two.
How high above the ground is this?
It's about a story up, so about a little over 10 feet.
Yeah, I'd go to the railing and just kind of...
So, as you do so,
And I would also go up and just be behind him.
as you step up and you kind of overlook this meeting, right? It seems nobody notices you up there, partly because they aren't looking for you, with the exception of the girl that has her boots kicked up on the table. She's leaning back and you see her eyes wander up and she tilts her head to look up at you with an expression that says, "They're not supposed to be there." As Mayor Hawthorne says, "Well, ladies and gentlemen, let us start our meeting." He says, "First thing we need to talk about is Ambrose," he says. "Has any of our scouts returned from Ambrose, or any of our magic users found anything of importance?" He says. The people at the table begin to discuss as the serpent folk says, "Unfortunately, Mayor Hawthorne, we have no information to give you, magical or otherwise. It seems that everyone that we have sent to Ambrose has not returned." He says, "Where do you believe they've gone?" The half-elf in the naval gear, he says, "I believe this is part of a preparation for war." He says, "There's no reason Ambrose would just disappear like that." He says, "They have to be preparing for something, and anybody that comes in is completely taken off the map, so they can't return with any more information."
You're wrong.
You say that?
Yeah.
So when you say that, they all stop and they all turn and look up at you.
I want to turn back and make sure he's still at the door.
Melchior?
Yeah.
He is.
Okay.
He's rubbing his chin, kind of playing with that goatee, looking at you like intently. "And you are?" Mayor Hawthorne asks.
My name is Perrin Aristep.
His eyes widen.
Aaron? Sorry.
He gently lays his hand down.
And Ambrose isn't preparing for war. They need help.
"Why?" he says.
There's some sort of sickness or disease spreading, and it's taking over everybody, turning them evil, for lack of better words. They're turning on themselves, whatever this disease is.
"Come down here," he says. Melchior opens the door.
Harry. I don't know if you turned around. I was gesturing.
I was like,
yeah. I figured. I was like, oh, we can walk.
I mean, okay.
We can walk down.
Okay, yeah, I'd walk down.
Melchior watches you as you walk out. Melchior turns and looks at you and smiles as you walk past him.
I go down with you.
You make your way down. Melchior is just walking behind you. When you get to the door, the guard turns and he says, "What is this?" He says, "Excuse me, darling, we have business." As he opens the door.
Please say it. Please say it again.
Kind of from a bit. As you walk into the meeting, Melchior stands at the door and he shuts the door, staying outside.
I find that a little odd that he didn't come into.
Oh, he didn't come in?
No.
Oh, okay. Weird.
Mayor Hawthorne looks at you. So, Perrin, was it? He says.
Yes.
Tell us about Ambrose.
It's been what, 2 days? 3 days?
Yeah, 3 days.
3 days.
But it had been
10
going
days.
on for
About 10 days ago. Yeah, about 10 days ago, I was locked in the castle. My father made me stay in there to report on. He had to go figure out what's happening with Ambrose. And to my knowledge, I mean, everything was just kind of shut down. You know, people were going in and out. Guards were posted more heavily, more shifts. The lights were out. And there were screens from within the city walls. And 3 days ago, whatever was happening made its way into the castle. Some sort of disease was taking over the guards' bodies, causing them to turn on me and try to kill me. And I was able to get away, and my father teleported me outside of the city on a random trail. I don't know where he's trying to take me, but he told me to come seek you.
I see.
And that you might have information about the 4 keys.
Unfortunately, I don't know what your father's talking. I can't help you, and I have no information. It's sickness. Says, how did you make it here? If your father teleported you so far from home.
By luck, I landed near a caravan that was on its way here.
And that'd be where I came in. I just told him I would make sure he made it here to be able to talk to you. I did not know this kid, but whenever he first appeared out of thin air to us, he did seem very frightened to talk about the whole thing. He seemed to be doing better now. He was very shook up whenever he first, I guess, was teleported.
And how did you make it into my meeting? The door suddenly opens and Melchior steps in. He goes, "That's my cue," as he steps into the room. Clearly staying outside only
Waiting
to do
for the
that.
moment. Yep.
And he says, "Daddy dearest, it's me." And you see High Lord Mayor Hawthorne turn to the girl to his side, and she whispers in his ear and says, "Melchior." And he says, "Yes, Daddy, I never expected you to forget me." And he says, "But I heard of this child's plight," and he puts his hand on your shoulder and he leans down face to face with you, and he says, "And I couldn't just let something so small and innocent go without a little help." And he says, "And because of the blight going on in Ambrose," he says, "I wanted to put a little clarity. Excuse me. I wanted to get a little clarity on what's going on in Ambrose." And he says, "So I brought him to you." And it's in that moment that you realize Melchior kind of just used you.
I mean, I knew he
Right.
was, but yeah. Yeah.
He says, "I see." He says, "We have much to discuss." And he says, "Perrin," as he stands up, he makes his way around the table, and everybody kind of takes a moment, and you kind of collectively feel everybody go on the defensive when he stands up. As he makes his way over to you, you see again Melchior got his height from his father, who walks over to you and he gently places his hand on your shoulder. He leans down to you, and that what I'm about to tell you is very serious. He says, "I know you've come a long way. And I know that what you're bringing us, the information that you brought us, is of the utmost importance. Would you be willing to speak with me at a later date?" Says, "Where are you staying?" "Why, he's staying with me at the Nightingale," Melchior says. He looks up at Melchior, and you see him kind of examine him before he turns and looks back at you. He says, "Very well." He says, "I have private matters," he says to Melchior, as Melchior just like unfazed, you know?
Mm.
He says, private matters to discuss in this meeting. He says, but we will speak to you on a later date. Go ahead and roll me a sense motive.
I will. That's what I.
Whoa! Fine. We're going to speed up the plot just a little bit now.
Does this relate to the 4 keys and whether or not he actually knew anything about
He
it?
knows about
So, first off, with your nat 20, yes. He knows what you're talking about, but is refusing to say anything
in front of this
in
audience.
front of a group. Yes. Second off, you feel like he knows who you are. And the fact that you're here is staggering to him. Like, whatever that might mean, you're not sure, even with your nat 20. But you do know that the fact that you are here is staggering to him.
That I'm here or that I'm alive?
Yes.
Okay.
Also, something that you feel in this moment is he is desperately trying to get you three to leave. That is the thing you glean off this.
Okay.
That is the hardest to read because of how sincere he was talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
But it's almost as if he can't help talking to you like you're a child, and you can see through that.
Okay.
To everyone else, they're like, "Oh, he's so good with children." To you, you're like,
There's more of this.
Yeah, my father never spoke to me like a child, and you shouldn't either. Yeah.
Of course, Lord Mayor Hawthorne, we can speak privately later. I just want everybody to know that Ambrose is not preparing for war. If anything, they need aid now more than ever.
You see the half elf in that naval outfit, and he says, "Well, then we should." And Hawthorne shoots a look at him, and he immediately shuts down. Yes, and this is something that we will discuss later. Thank you so much, Merrick. He says, "You, your friend," he looks at Melchior, "are all excused." Of course. Melchior opens the door. You see the guard like go to open it, and Melchior just like slides in front of him. The guard's like, as he just pushes the door open.
Let's go.
Okay. Where is the Nightingale? Asked as we leave the door.
Melchior steps out as he like spins in place. He just and slams the door shut. He says, "Why, it's docked outside, of course." And he says,
Docked?
"Yes, of course. The theater barge. The most prominent barge in all of Drimport."
We will meet up with the rest of our party and we'll meet you back there.
He says, "The rest of your party, madame, won't you?" He says, "Violet, bring the..." He looks at you in confirmation for his name. "Ripley? Bring the Ripley friend." I like it when he doesn't tell you. He's like, "That's fine."
I like that. He's like, I did too. I have to look it up.
And he says, he gives you directions to the Nightingale, right? He says, you can't miss it, darling. Violet walks up with Manzarek, right? He turns, he says, "Violet, thank you so much." He says, "You've been such a good help." And he says, "We're going to the Nightingale now to prepare things for our guests for tonight, to make the rooms more comfortable for them." He says, "I bid you adieu."
I do.
He turns and he starts to walk off. Violet turns and looks at you. "It was a pleasure meeting you."
The feeling is mutual.
She bows to all three of you as she turns and looks up.
I'll wait for them to get out of earshot.
Earshot.
There's more to this story.
What do
So
you
what
mean?
happened?
Hang on. What do you mean?
I don't know. My thoughts are racing. In a very hushed, like stealth tone, making sure no one's paying attention. I don't trust Lord Mayor Hawthorne. I almost instinctively want to think that he is part of the problem with Ambrose. But I need more information.
But why would your dad send you to him
Mm-hmm.
if he's the problem.
Just you're right to keep your guard up. Just be vigilant. And let's go meet. I'm sure the other ones at the tower, the island of knowledge, are gonna be there much longer than this took. So let's head over there.
Well, as we go, at least tell Menzarek what it is that we had discussed. It's not a lot, but I don't know any.
And I give you a
Like,
briefing.
I am straight up not aware of what the heck y'all are even referring to. I just said I was going to get you there, and then everything else was...
Is there anything that you with
Exposition.
hold?
No. Okay. No, I don't withhold enough.
Because that's what friends do.
Is that trust?
And forget their names.
Trust.
No, Delaney forgot his name.
And that's okay.
Friends, I said what I said.
Yeah. So we'll.
To the island of knowledge. Okay.
Huzzah.
Huzzah! So, you three make your way to the island of knowledge.
We're there.
Oh yeah.
Knowledge.
Oh, yeah.
Certainly there's a Marcus with us.
A what?
There was always a mark.
It's always Mark. He's always been here. Yeah. So-
Sorry.
I'm a least to serve, thank you very much.
So, because the temples were also on the island of knowledge, you three didn't have to leave. You just made the quick trek up there, where the rest of them took like an hour to sail across the bay to get to the island of power. Again, this inlet is large enough that a royal armada, an entire fleet, could fit inside of it. And each island's the size of a city. So it took you a little doing to get around and navigate yourself to the center area where that spiraling wizard tower is, and you're able to get into the library. As you step into the library, you see a kind of old learned man standing behind the counter. He has his hands on a book, his eyes staring off into space as his hands just kind of graze over the pages. You notice that his eyes are a pearly white color.
He'll check to
You may.
confirm what I think is going on.
Do that thing.
Is he
Spell
blind?
correct, from what I think.
Is he blind in reading Braille with an 18?
Yes and no.
Oh,
He is blind. What you gonna
Oh,
spell?
I got spell correct.
With a nat 20 on spellcraft,
That's three.
you
That's like the third one tonight yet.
as his hands roll over these pages. Hang on one second. Da-da-da, I'm gonna give you the
Spell that's going on.
not specifically the spell, more of the aura that comes upon. It is the divination spell, and this book has a divination spell, and it's not unique to him. It's anyone that rolls their hands over the seemingly blank pages absorb the writings that had been placed on there without ink. So whoever wrote in this book did not leave any markings, but anyone that rolls their hands over it just absorb the knowledge therein. And that seems to be what he is doing. 2 pages at a time. One at a time, please.
where did you? Oh, anyway.
I have visions of Monty Python. I'd say old woman.
Man!
I beg your pardon?
I'm a man.
Um,
Excuse me, I have a cold.
religious section, please.
He says, have you been here before?
No,
Do you have a card?
I have many cards, but probably not the one you're looking for.
Well, if that is the case, you can only be allowed into the base sector of the library without a card, and it would be a single gold piece for the rest of the week. You may come and go as you please, and you'll be issued a library card. You may not take any books out, but you may stay here and read for as long as you would like.
I just placed the gold piece on the table.
He hears the click, and he reaches over, and he kind of like feels the metal piece. He rolls it over in his hands a couple times to assure that it truly is a metal coin. And he says, Yes. He says, if the rest of you will wait here.
I too would like to put a gold piece down. That was hard myself.
He takes the piece again.
I'm just watching.
He escorts you two over to another section where, again, very much like when you came into Dreamform.
I'm sorry, I was trying to be really quiet and I was not.
He rolled a 1.
Y'all need a moment?
No, you're good.
Yeah.
We don't want to interrupt
No,
you two.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Why am I dragged into this?
I was trying so hard.
We just assume you're in trouble, Shane.
I'm always in trouble.
Oh man.
Shane's the one holding the cord. He's like, why is this my fault?
No, it's my fault.
I am. He's got a bloody knife. What makes you think I did it?
He handed it to me.
And Zerk's like, I don't know what he's talking about.
Blood all over his face.
Taking you off to the side, you again go through logistics, same as you do in Dreamport. Name, occupation, blah, blah, blah. And you do very much feel like this is in coordination with the papers that you signed to get in here. So if they need to follow where you've been, they can tell you've come to the library. You went from A to B and now you are here.
And they can scribe for us further.
They then hand you a card. This card does have a faint divination aura about it. It itself, even though it is magical, may be worth a gold piece. But that is just what it is at face value. You do have a strong suspicion that you could probably sell it for more than that. As he hands it to you. He says, this will allow you to come and go as you please. That card will be... You will all required to return that card when your week is up. Or it will be taken from you, and the corresponding value will be compensated from you.
What is the question?
He says, that will be determined upon the conditions in which we have to take to retrieve it. He says, if you would please. He gestures to the library.
Is there a directory?
He says, of course.
This way, the way you were pointing us.
As we're walking along,
There's a giant billboard behind them. Directory.
as we're walking, I like lean in and it says, "I don't remember librarians ever feeling so violent."
Do you walk with them?
Mr.
Yes, I do
Unicorn.
start to walk with him.
As you begin to pass this blind gentleman, he reaches out, he grabs you by the arm. Excuse me, if you'd like to enter the library, it'll be a gold piece. You'll be issued a card, and your information will be taken. You'll be able to come and go for the week as you would please, but you may not be allowed to take any books out with you.
You got
Pull out
shaken
a
down
book.
for a gold piece.
Pull it and hand it to him. I beg your pardon. I misunderstood.
Don't you live here?
I just want to clarify. You put the gold pocket, your gold coin, in 3 different pockets. It looked like it was further up and it kept going down.
Then sock
They
now.
all go to the same place.
It's like, we robbed him of a gold coin. Ha. Fools, I have 12 more in different locations. It's like an Easter egg hunt. Come find my gold coins. Anyway. It's like a really creepy Easter egg hunt. Anyway.
Oh, it really is a roll of quarters.
Well, why is this one warm? As you step into the library, there's no music in the library.
Yeah.
I don't know why the roll of quarters got me real good.
I thought the marijuana sauce was good.
As you step into the library, you see that there are platforms that when you see that there are bookshelves that cover the walls in this wide area that circles around. There are no shelves in the center, only tables where people are reading, and you see that there are tiers that go up, up, and up. The books on their shelves, though, there seems to be about like 8 to 10 shelves per floor, but they're all different sizes. The shelves are not uniform. It seems that they are specifically made for the books that rest therein. So the books not only are alphabetized or in subjects, but also categorized by size. You see that somebody has painstakingly taken the time to go through and organize all of this. And every time somebody takes a book, they handle it gently and with care, taking it down to the place they need to go. The tiers of this place are suspended by a series of rails that drop down from the ceiling, allowing each circular floor to be suspended in the middle of this tower that goes up, leaving room on the sides for people to check out their books. There are platforms at the base of each one of these bookshelves where a person stands on. You see them touch a sphere, and then the platform raises and automatically goes somewhere, seemingly to where the person has asked for it to go. You do see that there is an automaton standing off to the side. It has 3 arms, 1 circular eye in the middle of its head, a kind of rotund body that reminds you kind of a tea kettle. It is brass in color, and you see it organizing books and kind of shifting things around as it's just going. Where most everyone else here doesn't really look like they work here. The only person that looks like they work here is this automaton and the gentleman at the front desk.
So if I don't see anything that looks like a directory of sorts, like subjects of the gods over here, I would go up to the automaton and just in common be like, could you point to the direction of religious studies?
As you say that, it's organizing books. Its head swivels in a complete 180 and it doesn't slow down what it's doing, right? It says, of course. As it its arms tuck back in, it just kind of ducks down, and you see that its legs can raise up and it can walk, but they also fold down where a set of wheels allow it to kind of and scoot across the floor. As it does so, it goes off to one side of the room and it stops. And he says, here is all the religious studies that you may be working for. Is there a specific subject that I can help you with?
Symbols and signs of the gods, specifically.
Symbols and signs of the gods. You see him stop, and you see that light. Good. Yes?
Is there a decent time for a pause? My wife and kids want to see this video.
And in that moment, we'll be right back.